Welcome back to TYT. Special coverage of the primary races taking place today. So John has some updates out of Florida.
We do. They're not good though. But Florida is it's going hard for Biden. You know, with this election that we're having. Can we go to those results? Those results of the votes that we got today. So as of right now, with 82% reporting, Biden is at 61%, the called winner in Florida. Sanders at 23%. Democracy, isn't it grand? So that is Florida. Illinois has also been called. I don't know if we have that ready to go, but as of right now, the results are actually very similar. Now this is only 3%, but it has been called probably because as of right now, Biden is at, well, they have 65% to Sanders is at 27%. Still obviously a long way to go. The results could change to some extent, except it's not predicted to flip. Look, so if we were waiting to find out this gamble we've got going on, which way it goes.
I almost feel bad like covering these results, like in a way, like these results are illegitimate. Like
it would be like if you just wrote stuff down and I was like, we have the results.
This election should not have been happening today. This election is putting people's lives at risk. Not only the people who are voting, but everyone in those communities are at risk because of this election.
Definitely.
People will die as a result of this election today. Someone needs to follow up and sue the Democratic Party for holding these elections today. For wrongful death. Like I don't like we have to challenge these results. Like these results cannot stand. I mean, like if Marie Newman loses in Illinois against Dan Lipinski, like she cannot accept those results. Like she has to contest the results. Like there's just no way we can allow this.
Yeah, look, I definitely agree with you on it, and it is amazing because think about the type of criticism you'd hear from Democrats when it came to Donald Trump's irresponsible messaging on coronavirus, when he was encouraging people to go to work, when he was encouraging people to go to restaurants and be out and about, when he was treating coronavirus as if it was a hoax. He deserved that criticism, but so do Democrats, the Democratic Party specifically, that encourage people to go out there to their voting places to cast their ballots.
Yeah. Just imagine, do the thought experiment. Imagine if this, not even if Bernie was in the lead or not.
Yeah.
Just imagine if the Republicans were holding a contested primary today, and the Democrats weren't. Like the reaction from the Democratic establishment.
How we would react if Trump was pushing for the primary to go forward.
Yeah. We would be apoplectic.
I know exactly how I would react.
Yeah, we would be apoplectic. The Democrats would be apoplectic. Now, you know, all these awful people would be apoplectic. Rightfully so. And it's just, it's so unconscionable that this was actually allowed to go through that I can't even believe that it's reality. Like I can't believe it actually happened. It's one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen.
Especially when you have both Georgia and Louisiana postponing their primaries. How is it that they postpone their primaries and all these other states, the states that are voting today, decided against that?
The only thing that makes me understand it a little bit is obviously the cost to going forward is that almost certainly people are gonna get sick and probably die. But if you were to delay it, then you'd have to wait like a month. And that's a cost.
Yeah, that's
I mean, think about it. Another month of people voting absentee and by mail, and then on that day they go and vote. I mean, like, I can barely even work through all the convolutions of that.
The Democratic Party wants it over tonight.
Yes,
that's
they
what
want
they
it
want.
over.
They want this election, the primary election, to be over tonight. They want Bernie to go away. They don't want to give Americans an opportunity to really rethink, in the middle of this pandemic, how differently they would feel if Bernie Sanders' policies were implemented versus Biden's policies were implemented. Like what are these two candidates offering? And let me reevaluate how these two candidates would impact my life if they were in charge, right? Yeah.
Also, this is Joe Biden we're talking about. This is Joe Biden who has fallen on his face every single time he's running for president because he's done something unbelievably stupid, right? Things can change, like anything, like the polls have been very fluid throughout this entire primary.
Even recently.
Even recently, I mean, Biden was dead in the water. Biden was 4th in Iowa and 5th in New Hampshire and had no money. That means you're dead under normal circumstances. And he came back to life. Or he was revived back to life. And so things happen, like these polls are not set in stone. To base it on future polling is just, that's not how democracy works. Like you have to be able to hold free and fair elections in a way that's open and transparent and doesn't put people's lives at risk.
Yeah, and look, you probably saw the Reuters Ipsos poll today in a head-to-head matchup had them at 50-50.
Yes.
Now, when you included Gabbard, she took a couple points from Sanders and he was down by a bit, but it was still effectively 50-50. That to the DNC is probably horrifying. That
Totally.
Biden, the inevitable Bidenness of Biden is starting to catch up to him. And so they're gonna go forward. The expression is at all costs. Usually we just sort of say that. But like the at all costs is like an elderly poll worker dies of coronavirus so that Biden can knock off Bernie a little bit faster. That seems insane to me. And the only thing that is likely, like we were talking about, like they should sue, someone should sue and challenge the results. There will probably be enough ambiguity about exactly how they were exposed or who gave it to them that they can pretend that we don't know for sure that it happened because they were working the polls or waiting in a line for 3 hours. But it's there, it's no less real.
Let the Democratic Party fight that. Like let them be in the position of denying.
And we know they're not good at fighting.
Payouts. Yeah, or like in a court of law having to stare down like a widow, and be like, no, we're not gonna give you anything because your husband went out to vote and died of coronavirus. Like, let them force them to have to do that. Like, we cannot tolerate this. Like, we as citizens, like we cannot tolerate this behavior from our leaders. Like this kind of imposition. It's just, like we're just so taught throughout our whole lives that we have to just accept what goes on and we're beaten down and everyone feels like they have no political agency and it's because of things like this. Like at a certain point we have to say enough.
Right.
Enough. And like
So-
if the only vehicle we have is the Democratic Party, then those are the people we have to fight.
I think that it's important to discuss strategy moving forward. And I know that, in off-air conversations, you and I have discussed that. Michael Brooks is very much involved in trying to think strategy, right? It's not just about one general election. It's not about 2 general elections. It's about, hey, what can we learn from what we just experienced? And how do we mobilize? And how do we organize in a way that's effective enough to overcome the same Democratic establishment that played their games in 2016. Like we need to figure out how to get past them. And I don't think we're gonna do it this time around. I'm just keeping it real. And
a lot of people are just trying to survive right now, honestly.
Exactly, and that's yet another issue. Because when you're struggling to put food on the table for yourself and your family, right? The most difficult thing, the most overwhelming thing is to join a fight to save our democracy. And I feel cheesy even saying save our democracy because right now it doesn't feel like a democracy, right? But we need to break through. I know that young voters are certainly on board. Older voters tend to be afraid of Trump's reelection, so they're going with the person who they've been told is the safest bet against Donald Trump. But that blows my mind because those voters, those older Democratic voters have eyes and ears. They've seen Joe Biden on the campaign trail. Theoretically, they've seen him on the debate stage. He lies, he loses his train of thought, he's all over the place. What amazes me about Joe Biden is how shocked he is every time someone on the debate stage brings up. And by the way, I think Bernie has been too soft. I wish he was even more aggressive against Biden. But every time the bankruptcy bill comes up, he's like shocked that someone's challenging him on it.
Well, because he's got hardcore Democrat brain with it, which is that if it wasn't for me doing this awful thing, the Republicans would have done a more awful thing. That's what he said on the debate stage. He's like, he lied about not participating in like the actual writing of the bill. He absolutely did. But when he says like, oh, I voted for the bill because it allowed me to make it slightly less bad than like some disgusting, awful thing that the Republicans were gonna do. And that is Democratic Party brain in a nutshell. That is his ideology in a nutshell. So it's very weird for him to be challenged on it because he thinks that's the good and rational thing to do, that he was doing the right thing. That's what his milieu and his training and everything in his life has been about.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.